This is the research project that done by third year students in Sri Lanka Institute of Information Technology. The information for the research has been gathered by internet resources and various books. These are our members. We are going to cover these areas through this video. Introduction, comparison with procedural programming languages, features of functional languages, advantages and examples of functional programming languages, and some of the real-world applications. Programming can divide into two parts, such as imperative and declarative. Among those two parts, functional programming belongs to declarative part. Introduction. Functional programming is a programming paradigm that treats computations as the evaluation of mathematical functions. It eliminates von Neumann bottleneck. Von Neumann architecture means separation between the CPU and memory. In that architecture, problem encounters bottleneck. Bottleneck is the problem encounter in this architecture. It means limited throughput between CPU and memory compared to the amount of memory. In most computers, throughput is much smaller. This will limit the effectiveness of CPU. As a solution to that problem, functional programming was introduced. It has no side effects. Simple syntax. It avoids state and mutable data. No use of variables. Let's compare the functional programming with procedural programming. Functional languages are applicative recurrent. They achieve the effect by application of functions. Procedural languages are imperative, which is carried out by executing statements in sequence with conditional loop statements being used to alter the sequence of control. Functional programming such as Lisp, Miranda and Scheme appears to be missing several constructs often considered essential and imperative languages. Such as C or Pascal, there is no explicit memory allocation and variable assignment. Let's discuss the feature of functional languages. Higher order functions. Pure functional programming views all programs as collection of higher order functions that accept arguments and return values. This means functions can be passed as argument, returned as values or set to variables. High order functions are very useful for reduce the amount of repetition. Purity. Purity means another feature of functional programming. The functions in a functional programming are very much like math functions because they do not change the state of the program. Nothing happens outside of the function. Function take inputs and provide outputs. There are no side effects. Prohibited of side effects is called PO. As example, in length function its return specific size of string s. Immutable data. Purely functions programmers typically operate on immutable data. Once a value is assigned to an identifier, it never changes. Return values of the function and parameter of the function are slightly different. The unchanged part of the structure cannot be modified. They can often be shared between the old and new copies. It saves memory. Referential transparency. Pure computations yield the same value each time they are invoked. It means it can be replaced with its value without changing the program. This can help in proving correctness. Simplifying an algorithm, helpful to modify code without breaking it, optimizing code by means of memorization. Lazy evaluation. It means delay the evaluation of an expression until its value is actually recorded and also avoid repeated evaluations. The benefits of lazy evaluation include performance increases due to avoiding unnecessary calculations, avoiding error conditions in the evaluation of compound expressions, the capability of constructing potentially infinite data structures, and the capability of defining control structures as abstractions instead of as primitives. Recursion. Iteration in functional languages is usually accomplished via recursion. Recursive functions invoke themselves, allowing an operation to be performed over and over. Let's discuss advantages of functional programming language. Most functional languages provide a nice protected environment, somewhat like Java language. It's good to be able to catch exceptions. Encourage safe ways of programming. It's provide better support for structured programming than imperative programming. Often this leads to enhanced programmer productivity. Maintainability of functional programming is high. Easier to maintain as you don't have to worry about accidentally changing anything outside a given function. Safe multithreading. It is difficult to make an imperative program multi-threaded and thread safe due to the nature of no side effects, but in functional programming it's easy. Functional programs are often shorter and easier to understand than their imperative counterparts. This will enhance the productivity of the program. Examples of functional programming language. Functional languages can divide into two parts, pure and impure. Charity, Clean, Haskell, Miranda are the examples for the pure language. APL, Erlang, F#, Lisp, Scheme, OCaml are some of impure languages. Scheme. In the mid-17th, Sussman and Steele defined Scheme as a new Lisp-like language. Scheme is a dialect of Lisp. It is pure functional programming language. It uses the functional components of Lisp. It is generally used for teaching. At the time, it was an improvement over the Lisp language. Scheme uses static scoping. Scheme permits two types of objects, atoms and lists. Output and variables. In Scheme, the arguments are separated by white spaces. The first argument is the function name and the rest are arguments. Conditionals. The use if statement to put the conditional. There can only be one statement in the if conditionals. If you want to execute more than one statement, use the begin construct. Begin packs a few statements into one statement and returns the value of the last statement. Functions. Loops. In Scheme, loops should be implemented using recursion, since there are no side effects in functional programming. Functions can be thought of as mathematical definitions and the use of recursive definitions, and recursion allows us to define and hence implement many useful functions. Moreover, without side effects, there can be no loops, since loops require a loop index which is incremented. Hence, in a pure functional language, all control must be done by recursion. Lists. Syntactically, lists are enclosed in parentheses with elements separated by spaces. The null list is denoted by empty parentheses. The null list is detected by the predicate null. A predicate is a function that returns true or false in a scheme denoted by #t and #f respectively. The first element of a list is obtained with the function car and the remaining elements with the function cdr. Lisp processing functions. Lisp, defined by John McCarthy in 1958 as a language for AI. Lisp is a family of computer programming languages with a long history and a distinctive. It has fully parenthesized syntax. Lambda notation was used to specify functions. Lisp basics and idioms. Lisp uses symbols like variables but better, like pointers but less dangerous. Assign a name to value. Values can be lots of things.